is up, good people? Jungling here, hope you're doing well. I'm going to cover this CoinDesk interview with David Schwartz. I'll link it down below if you want to read the full thing, but I think it covers a lot of the themes we've been talking about recently here on this channel. There's also one part where David honestly rubs me wrong in a big way. Not the end of the world, but I think it should be addressed, so we're going to go over that as well. So to set up this interview, the author says the following. Since inception, Ripple and the XRP ledger have failed to break into the same developer pool as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and other crypto mainstays. Ripple's legal victory could draw more developer talent into its fold. Now, the SEC lawsuit, of course, it affected things in a very significant way. And one of them was adoption of the XRP ledger. David's going to go over some of the reasons why that is specifically, but that's not the only reason here. There's a lot more to it. When you look at competitive chains, there's this flurry of activity. And on the XRP ledger, we have, just brilliant people building out the infrastructure, maintaining the network, just doing great work. But we don't see that explosion of applications being built. And I think the interviewer does a great job by bringing this up. So the first question out the gate here is, now that the SEC case against Ripple Labs has been resolved, have you seen great adoption from banks and financial institutions? And David says the following. I think institutional adoption of blockchain technology, specifically institutions interacting on blockchains, has been slow. That's the key difference here. We're not talking about an institution buying a little Bitcoin, holding it on their balance sheet. We're talking about taking your business operations and transitioning that to on-chain, moving your payments business, onto the blockchain, things of this nature. This can be problematic when you don't have clear regulations. You don't know, is Gary Gensler or some other regulator going to be knocking on your door in the middle of the night? There's a problem with safety, customer funds, all sorts of stuff. It's a much higher hurdle to get over than if you or I see a really interesting application. We're like, cool, we'll load some money up in here and use it. What Ripple is trying to do is a totally different game than most out there, and that should be recognized. He further on says, when institutions are trying to take advantage of XRP ledger features like the decentralized exchange, well, there's that blocker that regulatory compliance is very challenging for them in that environment. So again, you're not sure what is going to be legal, what is not. The interviewer follows up. Well, what impact did the SEC suit ultimately have on your ability to attract customers? David says the first one is easy to see. Part of their vision for building here is sidechains. You can build something like Zahao and have smart contracts, or you could build, some other functionality, privacy, whatever it is, do your business on the side chain. But then when you need the XRP's liquidity and functionality, you can easily link up. Well, that's a problem. It's not so easy when your token has been delisted. Someone uses Kraken or Coinbase or Binance US, whatever the hot exchanges were at that time. They're not able to interact with XRP in that type of environment, and it makes it much more challenging. And I think that's why you see this flurry of activity now with AMMs and stablecoins and all sorts of stuff getting ready to roll out on the XRP ledger because they got some catching up to do, things that they could not feasibly do during that dispute with the SEC. And David says exactly that. If you can't open an account on Coinbase, buy and hold XRP, which for a while you couldn't, that was a huge blocker to that strategy, that building process we see now. Surprisingly, on the RippleNet side, so Ripple's main business, there wasn't much of an impact. Most of the deals they were doing were unaffected. And of course, the MoneyGram deal was probably a notable exception. That was a huge setback. They had to unwind their investment in MoneyGram, cease their partnership. It was very public, very notable, and it was a pretty big failure. And not only that, but there's another problem, wasn't there? It wasn't working. Ripple was paying millions of dollars a quarter to get that up and running, and at least from what we saw, they didn't get over that hump. Now, we saw a pivot to SMEs and different types of businesses, but the MoneyGram deal, it was big. It was with a public company, and it failed across the board. Maybe that was due to the SEC lawsuit. Maybe if they had more time, they could have got it done. I don't honestly know. But that, for sure, was a setback and a significant public failure. They go on further to ask about hooks. You've been testing a new feature called hooks that would add smart contract capability, and David corrects the record. He says, we had very little to do with building hooks, and for a while we were thinking that could be something the XRP ledger itself would be able to adopt, and it still could, but it's a major change, and it's risky, in two big ways. One is obviously if there's something wrong with it and it breaks the XRP ledger, well, that's a multi-billion-dollar problem for a lot of people. That's probably, a valid concern for all changes and amendments. And of course, hooks would be very large. But I think number two is the big risk. And he says the following. And the other way is just we want the XRP ledger to be great for payments. And hooks could make XRP ledger more Ethereum-like. So you're going to jam the blockchain full of all of these smart contract transactions. There's going to be limits to your scaling then. Things can slow down and become much more expensive. And that will be problematic if your main pitch for this blockchain is payments are fast and cheap. If that ceased to be the case, well, just look at Ripple's business. How would it affect them? And I agree with that. There's a lot of great smart contract blockchains out there that can do this type of thing. But the XRP ledger is specifically good at, a finely tuned set of tasks. And I think that's where you're going to find your success. So I definitely agree with David. You want to make sure to protect that and make sure you keep an advantage there. Because otherwise, you're just another smart contract blockchain and probably not even one of the best ones at that. You want to keep your competitive advantages in place. Now, this next one, it's not a major deal, and yes, he's right, but it pisses me off all the same. The question is, Ripple has historically struggled with reputational issues stemming from its link to the XRP army. David goes on to say it's definitely a blessing and a curse, with chuckles. Let me tell you this. We just saw this week Brad Garlinghouse selling his Miami mansion, $18.5 million. Chris Larson with $2 million Porsches and yachts, even though he's against anything ESG, burning energy, he can live on a yacht. Great, good for him. I'll tell you this, the XRP army for Ripple, it seems like a heck of a lot bigger blessing than any type of curse. Now, yes, there's some nonsense that goes on online. Muppets on Twitter that might say things that he doesn't agree with. But that don't affect him. You'd have to be a maniac to stare that SEC lawsuit in the face and stick with this ecosystem because you believe so foundational in its value long term. There's not another crypto where people would be either brave or dumb enough to do that. The XRP army's unwavering support keeps this thing going, man. Listen, they ain't buying, Miami mansions and yachts and Porsches from the money they make from cross-border payments. They are buying all that stuff from the XRP they're selling. And it reminds me of a famous quote. Don't take sides against the family, bro. That's all I'm saying. Say whatever you want to us, as we're talking, as the XRP army on Twitter. Go after me, go after whoever you want. But when you're talking to an outsider, you better correct that record. To date, Ripple has got a heck of a lot more out of this endeavor than the XRP army. I'll tell you that. All right, this next question, this is really the meat and potatoes. We hear a lot from Ethereum developers, Solana developers, Cosmos developers, and so on. But it feels like Ripple, for a while at least, wasn't part of the same sort of developer conversation. And it's true now. Like, pull up those blockchains and look what's going on. There ain't none of that type of building going on within XRP by other third parties and outside developers and things like that. And David brings up some good points. He's like, on these other systems, people like to build decentralized exchanges and NFT platforms, and all that's already built into the XRP ledger. And so his opinion is that's a less exciting environment for devs. You could go on further and say, well, it lacks some of the feature sets, doesn't have smart contracts. But I'll tell you this, if you just look how XRP has been positioned, number one, institutions, as we've discussed, are tough to deal with. Takes longer. Probably not something most developers want to get involved with. You want to roll out a retail app that's ready to succeed now. But the second part is XRP has been positioned strictly as a payments type of mechanism, a payments coin. Now, it doesn't have to be that. There's actually a lot of capability here. You can do some wonderful things with XRP. It's not as robust as what we see with Ethereum, where you can build literally anything you want, but you can do a lot and do it well. But I think that image is a payments coin. Payments aren't in vogue. They're not the popular use case now. I think they will be important, but right now people are looking to build DeFi and gaming and AI platforms and all sorts of things, and just payments ain't it. Not right now. And I think that harms attracting developers as well. They're trying to build the next Uniswap, Maker, Aave, whatever you have it. They ain't looking to build something with payments. And so the question is that peer-to-peer payment system that Satoshi originally tried to build and David tried to build a better version of, is that a great use case for blockchains? I think it is. I think there's a heck of a lot more that could be done with that use case, but it's just not hot right now. I think we'll circle back to it and you'll see payments start to erupt. And David says farther, I think obviously the XRP ledger should be the winner for cross-currency payments and liquidity provisions because it was specifically built for that and everything has been optimized for that particular use case. So the ledger is optimized for this idea of fast and cheap payments, but ain't no one trying to build payment solutions right now. I think that harms it a lot too, but I believe that pendulum is going to swing back to a focus on the original blockchain problem, which was payments, a peer-to-peer payment system. I still foundationally believe that that's going to be a monster and XRP is going to be one of the leaders. The leader, not one of them, the leader in that use case. It's novel, it's unique, it's great at specific things, and it's going to lend itself well to payments once that sector heats up again. That's my opinion. It hasn't been proven out. Maybe payments are a bust, but I sure don't think so. What am I excited for going forward? Well, these new feature sets. I think AMMs are going to be a game changer. And I think even more important than that, adding significant stablecoins to the XRP ledger will really open things up. And you're going to see a lot of activity there. And with those two items being added to the XRP ledger, the possibility of interesting things you can do, I think, exponentially expands. I'm not saying it's an overnight, moonshot once you see AMMs go live or a stablecoin added. But I think those two together are really going to spur a lot of building because now the possibilities are literally endless on the types of applications you could dream up. Let me know what you think down below. And as always, please like, please subscribe. The revolution will be televised right here on Jungle Link.